everyone. Welcome to Ecstatic Academy. I'm Toby, your host. This is Gina.
I'm Gina.
And we're just starting this out because we've been having a lot of really interesting conversations.
Very interesting conversations.
around Tantra and sexuality. And so we thought we would share some of the things that we talk about when we're
talking about it, which we're about to.
We're going
shortly.
to. We're going to. So I've been studying Tantra for over 20 years, and Gina is a practicing Buddhist. So we really enjoy bringing a spiritual perspective to our sexuality. And so today I was thinking, let's just talk about the general concept of energy.
Let's talk about energy. That's a really good subject. I was just talking to my girlfriend about this.
Yeah?
Yes.
What
Last
was
night,
it?
we were talking about androgyny and some of the qualities of which she finds attractive in a partner. And I was getting stuck, as I tend to do, and you know this, on strictly maybe the external side of androgyny, and maybe folks that really maybe present very clearly and with a strong masculine appearance, for instance, strong masculine style externally. Anyhow, I was getting stuck on the external side of it, and whereas she was really talking more about what we're going to talk about today, which is the energy side of the masculine and the feminine.
I think that's kind of a controversial thing, because I am also, like you, a little bit confused about people, what they decide to, how people decide to label themselves, how they decide to present themselves, and their energy too. So, like, I'm always looking at things from an energetic perspective, and in fact, sometimes I don't even like to use the terms masculine and feminine, because we get so caught up in tying those to the way you look, or what you were born with.
That's right.
what body parts you happen to be born with.
That's right.
And really, from a tantric perspective, they're completely separate, because all of us are a mixture of both masculine and feminine qualities, or, as like I like to say, solar and lunar, or yin and yang, however you want to talk about it. Sometimes it's easier to talk about it that way, because people are like, well, I'm a girl, and so I should be like this because that's the feminine perspective, and that's not how it works.
I like that though. I like let's use the solar language for a bit and see how that feels.
Okay. Yeah. So and this is aside from what you were talking about with your girlfriend. That's how people present, I think, can get very confusing, because labels are always really confusing.
Right.
And I prefer a less labeled world, but people like to label themselves. So it's whatever you are, because the truth is we're both a mixture. We're a mixture of both qualities. All of us are,
Right.
And I don't think it really matters, right? I think if you want to get shit done, then maybe you want to turn on your masculine energy. If you're too stressed out, maybe you want to turn on the feminine or the lunar energy. I've got to be conscious now of using solar.
That's right.
Yeah, so turn on your solar energy when you want to amp things up, you want to get things done. That's
right.
Really good. When you need to be organized or focused and directed. And the lunar energy, when you need to be in touch with your surroundings, with the people around you, with your own emotions, and all of that kind of stuff.
Gotcha.
Right? So you think of yourself as more solar focused?
definitely more solar.
You are a get your shit done kind of girl. You are.
First and foremost, but there is definitely, I have a Luna tattoo, so there's definitely the lunar side to me as well, just as you said. They're all a combination in some way of these two qualities. So this is true, yes.
I obviously think of myself as extra
or
extra loony sometimes.
Double extra, double ultra.
It's super interesting, and I don't think it matters in day-to-day existence, but where, and this is why we're talking about this in relationship to sexuality, is because that's where I think it becomes more critical, you know.
Interesting. So tell me more about that. Why would it be more critical? Critical in what way? Like we should be aware of this, or
possibly when you're in a relationship, a lot of times people's personalities tend to blend towards each other, and you end up at this very neutral place, right? So what makes sex so exciting is the polarity, right? And the polarity is having one more solar, one more lunar, and even if you switch, you know, as long as you're playing with those polarities, that's where you get the most excitement. When, you know, I mean, it's when you stop and everybody goes to neutral. In a lot of long-term relationships, I see people like they almost become, you know, asexual, or, you know, because there is no more polarity. They become so much of a blend of each other that they have no distinct space, and we miss that a lot.
I agree.
In a lot of traditional cultures, and some people have criticized this. I think we Western people look through a very limited lens on when it comes to gender roles and things like that. But having that separation of the masculine and the feminine, the solar and the lunar, can really help heighten the polarity, right?
Right.
So I don't think there's anything wrong with it. People do what works for them, right, in their own personal relationship.
Why do you suppose? Because I'll tell you from my perspective, I do enjoy the polarity difference, right? What can happen between individuals that have a really balanced blend of both the solar and the lunar within the relationship. So there's that. What would you say about people? Because I find, particularly, it seems like in lesbian relationships, I often see people who are very clearly, for instance, solar partners or lunar partners for that matter. But anyway, do you follow what I'm saying? What would you say about people that are not drawn to the two polarities and that kind of dichotomy in a relationship, and are more interested in sort of
I think
people of
a matching temperament, a matching energetic pattern. I think that everybody has a different taste, and obviously we're not there in the bedroom with them, so
that's true.
It could work, but from a tantric perspective, and this is just an energetic perspective, so you don't have to plan your whole life around it, but from an energetic perspective, you need the two. If there's too much sun, we're going to end up with scorched earth. If there's too much moon, it's going to be dark and no plants will grow. Yes, so it's okay, because maybe they're balancing it within themselves, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, none of this is a judgment. this is you, so you have to do it this way. It's more about, I mean, the tantric practice is, and this is why this is important to me, the tantric practice is around building that energy. So in your relationship outside of the bedroom, and we're just talking about Tantra in the sexual arena, there's a lot more to the practice than that. But to release that Kundalini energy, you need the spark of the masculine and the heat of the feminine to build the fire, like the wood and the flame, right?
Right.
So if you have two flames,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and if you have too much wood, So it's really just about the energetic.
The energy side of it has to, be properly balanced. And I think if I've heard you correctly, that's what you've also said about that is, in order to sustain and maintain a healthy sexual connection, that has to persist, right?
Well, in order to maintain,
it never really. It'll all things wax and wane.
Yes.
In a relationship.
First of all, to maintain a healthy relationship, I think you have to be conscious of it first,
right.
which is part
Awareness.
of your practice.
That's right.
Your practice, right?
Be aware.
Being conscious and being aware.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So, if you're not, then you're just on autopilot, which is what happens to a lot of people. But if you want to keep the passion part of it, first you have to have the awareness,
right?
And then you have to have the polarity.
Yeah.
And I think it's a little bit easier for you because you do identify as more of a solar type energy, and you are attracted to more lunar types, right? That's a natural fit. But anybody can do anything as long as you're conscious of what works. So this is what works for that person that I want to be in relationship with,
right?
And so I'll play up the lunar part of me because they really like the solar part. Or maybe they're in a lunar mood and you play up your solar part. You can do it any way as long as you're conscious and mindful. But without that, we tend to, and this is why you see in almost every relationship, the sex is hot and heavy in the beginning, and then it just goes, and some of that is routine. I like to keep things exciting and change things up in the bedroom, and a lot, and particularly the solar energy can get really into routine. It likes predictability and routine. A solar energy person, might be more likely to say, "I got to work all week. Let's, Friday is date night, and let's have sex on Friday.
Let's schedule that."
Yeah, exactly. That is very much a more solar thing. And the lunar is like, "I'm not in the mood tonight," So,
yeah.
Because for the lunar, it's all about what's going on in the moment. So being mindful of that and realizing where the energy is, it can help you play because we have both. You don't have to be limited to how you present or what genitals you were born with whatever energy you want to bring into the room.
That's true.
Like you can be a dominatrix and be a very feminine one, but in order to be a successful dominatrix, you have to be more solar because you got to charge. You're gonna spank them. You're gonna. That sounds like so much fun.
Okay.
So, okay.
Side combo. That's another episode, I think.
Yeah, we can talk about that in another episode. Right, so that would be the energy that you would bring into the play of that moment.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I got it.
And for some people, it's...
But, that also takes effort. All things, kind of, which maybe is yet another episode, but, to maintain that proper balance and keep that energy going, like you said. Mm-hmm. I think there definitely needs to be a certain amount, or what I find to be helpful is definitely a certain amount of tension
That's the polarity.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
That
And we've talked about that before. So again, today I kind of just want to talk about the general concept of the energy and stuff.
Good.
And then we can go into a lot of.
That was perfect. Do we need to say anything more about the energy?
I think we got a good.
And I know much more. I'm more learned about how to think about energy separate from whatever may be external.
But I do have one more question before we close out today, too. So, translating this like into a sort of spiritual practice that you're learning, the Buddhist practice, do you see any crossover, or they don't talk about sex a lot in Buddhism?
Oh no, no, quite to the contrary. I think the thing that I would be aware of, and I would kind of maybe relate back to my practice is simply this, which is the practice of being mindful, and especially of the path that I follow, which is the Vipassana tradition. It's all about awareness, right? And being deeply accepting of ourselves, and being deeply aware of ourselves, and our own best friend, ultimately. The Buddha kind of pointed to us and talked really, we are the Buddhas, right? We're the gods within here. So that's what I would take away here, is that I was maybe concerned that some people might have trouble accessing these different sides of their humanity, and they shouldn't be afraid to, right? I think hopefully we're talking about it in an open way, and the important thing is to be accepting and aware and be curious. And that's what it's all about.
I love that word, being curious, because I think that is maybe the biggest passion killer in a relationship, because we feel like we know the other person so well, and maybe a little boredom creeps in. We can talk about that in the next episode.
Another episode.
Beautiful.
Now we've got several.
Well, thanks y'all for joining us today. I'm glad you could come.
Right on.